So no spoilers, but have you seen the most recent episode?
Of course, it was amazing. How about that scene where the Chem Barons team up with Jinx and Vi in order to take down the Enforcers and the Firelights? But it all came down to the giant hex tech of Mumu and the Blitzcrank, and I think I'm talking about the ranked game I played before bed last night.
That reminds me. I need to tell everybody how the set is evolving.
It all felt so real.
Hey Tacticians, we're back so soon, but so much has happened. If you're still catching up on Arcane's second season and want to avoid spoilers, I'd suggest coming back to this video at a later point. Consider yourself warned. Hopefully you've been having fun with the set so far, but if there's anything we know about the world of Arcane, it's that you should never let your guard down. Things are about to change. Last time we checked in, you may have noticed that some very important Arcane characters were missing from the set. That's because we wanted to wait until we could give them the entrance they deserve. Warwick, Victor, and Mel are joining into the Arcane as ultra-powerful 6 costs. They're rare, extremely rare, lucky to even see one rare. But when you do come across them, prepare to insta-buy. All right, let's introduce the trio. First up, Warwick. He jumps around, executing enemies, and as soon as a few have died, Warwick enters a frenzied state, becoming unstoppable, ripping enemies apart with increased damage and omnivore. If you see a Warwick on the enemy board, do your best to deal with him first, or it's going to be a rough one. Next, there's Victor, because after everything that went down in Season 2, a transformation seemed in order. Lucky for us, the League team provided us one glorious, extremely tall evolution. This 6-cost fires his death ray instead of auto-attacking, can stun entire boards, and will make everyone a believer, whether they like it or not. Last but not least, Mel. Mel is at the peak of her power, dashing around the battlefield, reducing damage to allies, and unleashing stored damage. And the kicker is Mel's last stand. She'll shield your tactician from death. Time to clap back. We can't wait to see how players evolve their strategy to incorporate these late-game win conditions. Let's head up to our Council of Devs to talk about bringing Arcane into TFT with our new 6 costs.
So with a 6 cost, we had a really exciting gambit to make and a really exciting challenge, frankly. These champions have to be cooler than every other champion who's ever been in TFT. They have to be more powerful than every champion who's ever been in TFT, and they have to be bigger than every champion who's been in TFT. Luckily, these are characters we're really passionate about, we're really excited about. We love all 3, Mel, Warwick, and Victor. So let's get right into the rarity of them. I think that was a really defining factor of how we get to make these guys special.
They have to be the biggest, the coolest, and the strongest units TFT has ever seen. And then we have to balance them.
Yeah.
And so the first thing we're gonna do is, well, we want people to see Arcane, immediately go into their game and see these amazing, cool characters and experience the battles and the tension and the high moments from the shell. And the way we're gonna do that is, first, they gotta be a little bit rarer, right? Players are probably not gonna see them until like the middle of stage 5, and more likely you're gonna see them on stage 6. And they're not gonna be in every game, you're not gonna see one every single game, but when you do, they should be these huge wow moments. You pick them up, you see them, they're special, they're the main characters, and they're probably gonna be around a 2-star 4-cost in power. So if you imagine Remix Rumble and hitting your 4-cost headliner, imagine that, except you can start them up again and again.
The power difference that you mentioned, I think, is also really interesting from an audio and art perspective as well, since 5 costs for us are usually the ceiling, right? That's where we invest most of our effort to make them feel really special. But in this case, we don't want to take away from our 5 costs, but we want to raise the bar even higher for our 6 costs.
I think also the 6 costs all kind of get a big moment at some point.
Yes.
And I'm sure that gave you guys a lot to work with. All right, I think we're ready to talk about Mel. Her character arc in the show, going from a politician to an incredibly powerful mage, is so exciting, and I'm really glad we got to capture it.
How Mel discovers her powers, that was something we really wanted to translate through in the audio as well. We were very lucky. We were able to work with the Arcane audio team, and they were able to send us over some of the sounds that they had used to create Mel's magic.
For animation side, we wanted to capture her elegance in her movements. Also, one of her perk ability is to save tactician from elimination, and that's where the VFX shines.
Yeah, I think that was kind of when we just say like fun challenge, right? We wanted Mel to feel like you were cheating.
The first time we saw these 6 costs cast their ability and then read their passive, we're just like, there's no way they're allowed to do this. And then we go and talk to Julian, and it's like, no, that's actually what we want. We want everyone to feel that feeling because hopefully everyone gets to play with one of these during the set. And they're just like, that's cool. That's what I want to do.
Moving on to Warwick. Warwick was a champion who kind of built the experiment trait. We knew from the start we were putting Warwick in. We said, great, let's just do this entire trait around him. And of course, by doing that, we did give a 6 cost a trait.
Julian comes up to me and is like, Warwick has to be an experiment. He has to have a trait. He is the experiment. These 6 costs, you should think about putting them on your board whenever you see them in the shop. That's how good and that's how powerful they're going to be. And so you kind of notice when you read all the abilities that they all have a hook that is good when they're 0 items, and they all kind of transform when you have 3 items, right? Warwick is going to execute anyone on the board below 20% HP. And if you put 3 items on him, he goes berserk. And if we put experiment, which has a nice little trigger whenever he kills something, he goes that extra level.
Warwick also has a lot of expectations behind him, right? Unlike Victor, who is really very different from his League of Legends interpretation, or Mel, who is a new character, Warwick, we wanted to feel like Warwick. Players love Warwick. Rachel, can you go into that process?
Of course, yeah. It's like you mentioned, we're already so familiar with how Warwick sounds in League of Legends and from previous iterations of TFT sets. So here, what we wanted to do was to make sure that we retained a lot of those audio cues so that he still feels familiar to what we already know, while at the same time making sure that we're incorporating as much of his arcane self as we can. 2 things that we focused on, for example, are 1, bringing in the sounds of the anomaly, the low gurgling, the high chittering sounds, along with some of the sounds of the shimmer, the shrieky type sounds that you'll hear with that, and really combining all of those to make his kit really shine.
For Warwick, we wanted to capture his movement to be more feral, berserk, kind of contrast to Mel, where she has a lot of arcs and slow movement. This time it's the opposite, where he should move very fast in straight lines, goes over the top, even in VFX and everything. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about easily the most exciting 6 cost to make. One of your favorite characters from League, one of your favorite characters from the show, and your favorite 6 cost to play, Victor.
Victor is the pinnacle of challenges that finalization faced, but also the cool things that we get to do with 6 costs, right? We've never printed a unit that not only hits the entire board, but also stuns the entire board, and then actually has the rest of his spell as well.
Yep.
And that just encapsulates what a 6 cost is. I think the set's design team came to us and says, hey, play these champions, and our play test, which is a bunch of Challenger and above players, can't be higher than Challenger, what am I saying? But a bunch of really, really good players, and the first time we see these abilities, we're just like, there's just no way they're trying to ship this. And they're like, no, that's the perfect reaction. That's what we want people to feel, and that's why we're making them these rare, super, super exciting moments in the game. And again, you're not gonna see them every game. You might see one every like 1 or 2. And if you're lucky enough, they'll be on your team, right?
First seeing Victor's spell was awesome. I was like, oh, this is gonna be such a cool moment for everyone. The really cool thing about it though is that from an audio perspective, something we're always thinking about is, we've got up to 20 champions on the field at once. How do we make sure that the important gameplay moments are still audible for all of those champions? Because Victor is actually stopping everything for a second, it gives us a moment where we're able to do a lot more sonically than we normally would. We have much more frequency spectrum room, so we're really able to bring out that anomaly-powered moment.
Victor was a very interesting character from the season 1 and season 2, where he changes over time. He starts with the innocent guy with the cane, becomes uncontrollable god, where he can influence everything, the whole universe. So we wanted to capture that in game, where his movements and everything is very calculated. And usually we try to align the thematics and his character and ability together. His animations will feel like he's very effortlessly lifting everyone up, but his actual influence to the board in the game is massive.
As for power budget,
He is the pinnacle of what a 6 cost should be and what we want players to feel. Essentially, you write down what he does, he's broken. He's one of the main reasons we have such restrictions on getting a 6 cost, right? You're kind of guaranteed to get one at some point in the game, and if you're really lucky, maybe you can send your 6 cost into the anomaly, and then you have a probably OP champion becoming insane.
I really want to thank you all for joining me to talk about 6 costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope players have fun with the set.
Yes.
Hey Tacticians, I'm Dylan, Global TFT Esports Strategist. We're just a couple weeks out from the Macau Open, TFT's annual LAN tournament, where players come from far and wide to battle it out in a brand new set over the course of one incredible weekend. The best part about the Open is that anyone from anywhere can walk away with the belt. It'll be played on the updated version of Into the Arcane that has our new 6 costs, so expect to see the meta evolve as you watch, or play, or watch and play at the same time. But the tournament really is just the beginning. This is a weekend that's all about celebrating TFT. We'll have show matches on a LAN-exclusive Mimi version of TFT, meet and greets with TFT stars, as well as an in-client hub. We'll also have a global roster of co-streamers and unique emotes to collect by watching, and a cheeky new little legend inspired by this year's location and its iconically delicious egg tarts. Last but not least, on the final day, we'll reveal our 2025 roadmap with a preview of our set thematics for the entirety of next year. Check out the article we just dropped for all the details. Before I send you back over to Sean to tell you about one last thing, we'll give you a sneak peek of Chibi releasing, especially for the Open. Chibi Porcelain Aurelia, show them what's what.
We've got one last thing to share. We hope you've been loving our very first tactician in our new style. With this update, we're bringing another familiar face to join Jinx in the Convergence. Every week is now Warwick. Arcane Season 2's version of Warwick is the ultimate expression of furiosity and uncontrollable bloodlust, and this new tactician will reflect exactly that. Thanks so much for watching and playing. It's been a pleasure bringing Arcane to life in the Convergence, and we hope you love it.